President Trump setting his sights on tax reform earlier today at the White House. And with the newly minted Chief of Staff, John Kelly, at the helm, Republicans on Capitol Hill are hopeful that a tax overhaul is coming soon.
What we intend to do is to take up tax reform when we come back after Labor Day. I don't think that this is going to be 1986 when you had a bipartisan effort to scrub the code.
So how exactly should the White House roll out their messaging on this? Joining us now with his tips is Karl Rove, former senior advisor to President George W. Bush and a Fox News contributor. So in this debate, Karl, I think that there are optimists and pessimists. Optimists say, well, obviously we need tax reform. The country needs it for all sorts of reasons, for fairness and for economic growth. And then you have pessimists who say, well, it's not been done for 30 years. This is going to be so hard. They couldn't get health care done. Which are you, an optimist or a pessimist?
Well, I'm generally an optimist. I'm one of those kids like Ronald Reagan described who got up and saw the pile of manure under the Christmas tree and dug into it trying to find the pony that was supposed to be in there. So even after health care went down, I'm hopeful, and I'm actually pretty optimistic that they are going to get a tax reform measure done, a tax cut done. It's not going to be as big and as bold as we probably would have liked it to have been, particularly after the health care defeat, but it's going to be big enough and hopefully strong enough to give us a jolt for economic growth. So what do you think they should do? We heard that the president will be traveling in August. He's going to hit some battleground states, I understand, to try to sell this message. How else should they try to get this across the finish line? Well, first of all, lower expectations. I've noticed there's a tendency among members of the administration to say we're going to get it done now or we're going to get it done soon and it's going to be big and it's going to be great. This is going to be a tough lift, because getting it past the House, they've got a pretty good discipline there, but even there it's tough. And then getting it through the Senate with 52 votes is going to be tough. So lower the expectations. Second of all, dial up the coordination. The good news is that seems to be being done. You notice there have been regular meetings between Paul Ryan and Congressman Kevin Brady of Texas, Chairman of Ways and Means, Leader McConnell, and the Chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, Orrin Hatch, plus Steve Mnuchin, Gary Cohn, and other White House and administration officials. And outside groups, which is, let me come to that in just a minute, but keep that coordination going forward because you need to stay knit up. And third, expand the number of voices that are being heard in this. And you're right, the outside groups, particularly the business community, are getting revved up about this, and it's important to do that. But overall, you need to have the president deliver a more, I think, persuasive, consistent, and educational message. He's got to tell the American people why he wants this in more than 140 characters. This is going to require set-piece speeches. It's going to require marshaling the evidence as to why this is important, to describe in reasonable terms what might happen. Don't raise the expectations. Don't oversell this. Don't promise that, people are going to be able to keep their plan if they like their plan, that kind of thing.
We have Bill McGurn of the Wall Street Journal on later in the show, and he argued today in the Wall Street Journal that the president should give an Oval Office address on tax reform. Would you advocate for that?
Oh, I agree. And I think that even more important than just one address was, what I took away from that article is that the president has a bully pulpit, and Bill was saying make regular use of it. And that means you need to have a plan. The White House has been without a planner. Sure, they've had a press secretary, but as you and I both know, the communications director's principal function is to develop a plan to make all the parts of the administration move in unison with their allies on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, because basically you are running a campaign. Speaking of the campaign, the president made promises about making sure that we were getting, for the country, conservative judges across the slate of judges in the country. Is he fulfilling that promise from your standpoint?
Oh, absolutely. His nominees for not just the Supreme Court with Judge Gorsuch, but his nominees for the appellate bench and these district benches, I just keep hearing terrific things about the people that he's putting forward. And I think this is going to be one of the great achievements in his first year in office is that he's done so well in this regard. And again, it's a lesson for us because this has not been insular. Don McGahn, the chairman, the president's counsel, has been reaching out to outside groups. The Federalist Society and Leonard Leo and other conservatives who are interested in this have been hearing from the White House, asked for their suggestions. They've been doing a lot of consultation with senators about this. I think this is a lesson for the White House on how they can be more successful by relying on allies outside the West Wing.
Right. So high impact, but not a lot of headlines, but still getting a lot of that done. All right.
Yeah,
Karl Rove, thank you so much.